BMG-ის გუნდი ქოქავს თქვენთვის საქმიან დილას.
თქვენ ყურებთ ანალიტიკას, მე ამ გადაცემის ავტორი ელენე კვანჭილაშვილი ვარ.
BMG-ის გუნდი წარმოგიდგენთ საქმის კურსს.
უძრავი ქონების პროსპექტს ვიწყებთ.
უყურეთ საქმიან საღამოს ყოველ დღე 9-ის ნახევარზე.
BMG TV-ზე წერტილის დროა.
The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma. The National Bank of Georgia has published its February report on inflation expectations, stating that inflation expectations among economic agents declined throughout the month, according to businesses and economic participants surveyed by the Central Bank of Georgia. Expectations have increased that inflation will remain within 2-4% range over the next year, while the number of respondents expected higher inflation for 6% has decreased. Now the question arises, who exactly is the MBG surveying? According to data released by the National Statistics Office of Georgia, the average monthly nominal salary in the country was 2,217.5 Georgian lari in the fourth quarter of 2024, reflecting an 8.5% annual increase. This figure represents gross earnings from which a 20% income tax is deducted, meaning the average net salary received in Q4 2024 was 1,773 Georgian lari. In January-February 2025, imports to Georgia totaled $2,732 million, marking a 9.6% increase compared to the same period last year. The largest import category during this period was paintings, drawings and pastels, amounting $481 million and comprising 17.6% of total imports. Last week, the Prosecutor General's office froze the accounts of 5 funds, accusing them of violations related to financing activities against Georgia's constitutional order and national security. The charges include assisting hostile activities of foreign-controlled organizations and mobilizing funds for subservice purposes. The investigation is ongoing and no further details have been released. According to the prosecutor's office, more than 2 million Georgian lari has been spent on the activities since December 2024. On March 19, 2025, the Supreme Court of England and Wales upheld the March 21, 2023 Court of Appeal ruling, which had previously confirmed the July 25, 2022 decision. As a result, the total compensation owed by the businessman Irakli Rukhadze and his business partners, including accrued interest and legal expenses, now exceed 170 million. In a 2021 ruling, part of Rukhadze's assets has been also seized. David Hidasheli has been ordered to pay the state $500,000 Georgian lari after losing ownership of the Libani resort in Borjomi. The Ministry of Economy told BMG that the reason for the asset seizure was the failure to fulfill contractual obligations. Notably, Hidasheli still owns 2 state-acquired properties, Rike Docks and the Akhtala Resort in Kachetia, for which he also not met obligations. After being detained for several hours, former head of the Autonomous Republic of Adjarar, Levan Varshalomidze, has been released and has already left Kazakhstan, the United National Movement stated that a criminal case was initiated against him in Russia for providing political and advisory support to Ukraine, which was allegedly the reason for his detention. The implementation of the entrepreneur's law has been postponed once again, this time until April 2026. The amendments submitted under a fast-track procedure were unanimously approved by the single-party parliament of Georgian Dream on March 18th. According to the ruling party MPs, the reason for the delay is that the business sector is still not prepared for the changes. The National Agency of Mineral Resources will now fall under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Agriculture instead of the Ministry of Economy. The change is outlined in proposed amendments to the law on subsoil. According to the explanatory note, the goal is to improve the management of mineral resources and environmental protection issues. The Minister of Environmental Protection and Agriculture has a new deputy, Lasha Dolidze. The appointment was signed by Georgian Dream Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze on March 18th. The Georgian Melioration has a new General Director. Gigla Tamazashvili was introduced to employees by Minister of Environmental Protection and Agriculture David Songulashvili. Until now, the position was held by Tamaz Gebrishvili. The Minister of Internally Displaced Persons from the Occupied Territories, Labor, Health and Social Affairs has a new deputy as well. Dr. Irakli Sasania has been appointed as Mikhail Sarjveladze's first deputy minister. Meanwhile, Irakli Kobakhidze has instructed the relevant government agencies to facilitate investment projects by the UAE-based development company Eagle Hills. Decree number 497 issued on March 17, 2025 outlines how ministries and municipalities should coordinate necessary measures for the development of Krzanisi Park and the area surrounding Gonio. More than 43 million Georgian lari has been allocated as financial assistance to institutions established by the Georgian Patriarchate, states Georgian government decree number 463, dated March 14th of this year, signed by Irakli Kobakhidze. Zestaponi ferroalloy plant has fully resumed operations after 4 months under temporary management. Ferroalloy exports have also been restored. The company notes that globally reduced product prices remain a challenge, but expectations are that the situation in international markets will improve from the second quarter of this year. Around 150 employees of Rustavi Steel have gone on strike. According to Temur Suramelashvili, chairman of the Metallurgical, Mining and Chemical Industry Trade Union, their demands include 500 Georgian lari salary increase and improved working conditions. The situation in Chiatura's mining companies and issues related to employee layoffs were discussed on March 19 during a meeting of the Social Partnership Tripartite Commission at the Ministry of Health. As per the Commission's decision, a working group comprising representatives of the government, employees and employers association will be formed. The group will assess the circumstances and seek solutions that are painless as possible. French football club PSG Paris Saint-Germain announced on its website that over the next 4 years, the Georgian brand Tees Water will be its regional partner. The club also stated that the partnership between the two iconic brands is based on shared visions. Tees is a flagship, premium quality mineral water brand whose philosophy, live to the fullest, perfectly embodies the Georgian spirit and strength.
This is The Checkpoints. I'm Elena Quantilashvili, author and the host of the show, and the Checkpoints team is ready to sum up business and economics week for you. I will open today's program with our exclusive interview with the lawyer of Giorgi Bachiashvili, former CEO of Bidzina Ivanishvili's co-investment fund, who had to escape from Georgia due to the dispute over bitcoins with the sole billionaire of the country and the honorary chair of the Georgian Dream Party, Bidzina Ivanishvili. Mr. Amsterdam, thank you for your time and thank you for answering our questions. Did you have any thoughts or hope, Mr. Amsterdam, that Bachiashvili could win this case in Georgia against Bidzina Ivanishvili?
No, there was never hope. That doesn't mean you don't put the facts before the court, and we have excellent counsel in Georgia to assist. But of course, this was a staged show trial. We are familiar, those of us who know the Soviet system, we're familiar with what a show trial looks like. This is unique because unlike Stalin's show trials, this show trial was for the financial benefit of Mr. Ivanishvili. So it's one of the world's first kleptocratic show trials. So we made a little history where Mr. Ivanishvili was trying to steal money from my client, and he used the courts to try to steal this money. So, if you will, this was a judicial extortion carried out by a corrupt judge who is already sanctioned in Estonia, part of a judicial system where the leadership is already sanctioned by the United States. It is a court system that is not only financially corrupt, but morally corrupt. And no decision of any Georgian court should be recognized anywhere. It is shameful what's been going on in their system. Just yesterday, another important, honest businessman has been put into jail. What's going on in Georgia with the demonstrators put into jail, with the election stolen, it is a cascade of human rights violations.
What are next steps, Mr. Amsterdam? What do you plan to do in this case, in Bachiashvili's case, next?
Well, watch us. We are going to do what we can for the sanctioning of those who were involved in this case. We will do what we can in terms of the corrupt judges. We will do what we can in terms of Mr. Ivanishvili. But watch us. We're not going to telegraph all of our activities. Obviously, we'll appeal. Obviously, we'll go to Strasbourg. But there's more. This crook, Mr. Ivanishvili, will not get away with this. It is contemptuous. And then to order an 11-year sentence. And this was the Ivanishvili order. This had nothing to do with the judge. Reflects a cruelty of the man on top of his desire to bend the courts and the prosecutors and the police to his will. It is a shameful exhibit of his hubris and paranoia.
What are Bachiashvili's chances at the Strasbourg court?
Listen, before a rule of law court, I believe we have excellent chances of success. But we haven't been in front of a rule of law court. We haven't been in front of a court that respects human rights. So we'll wait and see till we get that opportunity.
Was it the only way for Bachiashvili to escape the country at this point?
Well, I'm not going to comment other than to say thank God. An 11-year sentence where the facts and the documents in front of the judge completely contradicted the narrative of perjured testimony. It is, I don't know how that judge can sleep at night.
Was this escape a surprise for you?
Again, I won't make any comments concerning those activities.
Okay, then I will ask slightly in a different way. Does this escape affect Ivanishvili's image of a strong man that is bending the system and that is solely controlling the whole system in Georgia?
Of course. I mean, you know, Ivanishvili looks like the incompetent, autocratic, kleptocratic ruler that he is. Of course it does.
Prosecutor's office has already applied to Interpol to search for Giorgi Bachiashvili with a red circular. Do you have any updates on that? What will be the strategy in this regard?
Well, this is not capable of Interpol because I do this type of work for a living, and there are conditions with Interpol. They will not go after political persecutions. They will not assist judicial systems that are corrupt. I have no concerns about Interpol.
Did you think that the Tqvari HPP case would resurface in this context, and judiciary would use this case against Bachiashvili?
Look, you know, this is all according to a script of Ivanishvili. There's no way of predicting it. It has nothing to do with rule of law. It has nothing to do with due process. So all of us just have to react to the behavior of an irrational man who suffers clearly from paranoid delusions.
Does that make your job more difficult, Mr. Amsterdam?
Of course, because it's, you know, when you're dealing with somebody who's not necessarily operating according to any form of rules or logic, it becomes very difficult to predict.
Zaza Shatirishvili, he is the Ivanishvili's philosopher. He attacked you personally, stating that you are an agent of the Global War Party and Deep State, and that with Bachiashvili's case, you showed how agents control the Deep State and then influence people within the country and then try to overthrow the governments. Do you feel that almighty, Mr. Amsterdam?
You know, it's funny. I am banned from 7 countries, and for doing my job, and certainly I won't rush to go to Georgia anytime soon. You know, people need to understand what a deep state is. I worked for a number of countries where there are deep states. I am not a believer in a deep state. I'm being accused of that. I represent the Orthodox Church in Ukraine, where I am sanctioned both by Russia and attacked by many in the United States for defending the Orthodox Church.
So these allegations are not new to you. You just
no. I mean, no, and you know, when you are engaging in cases like my defense of Kharkovsky or defending children of Christ in Ukraine who are being persecuted by their own government, you get used to these kind of random, stupid shots.
But do you think Ivanishvili also believes in this?
Listen, you know, I read his April statement very carefully. They are the rantings of a madman. Very hard to give it any credibility at all in terms of politics. And I think it's a tragedy that in this case, he just absolutely looked after his own personal interest. He's already starting a civil lawsuit. He is an angry man who's out to steal everybody's money. And I think if I was living in Georgia, I would make sure my wallet was sealed because there's no limits to his greed.
Bachiashvili wanted to participate in the court hearing online and deliver his final statement, but the judge denied the lawyer's motion. Was it logical why this motion was denied?
It's absolutely contrary to Article 6 of the European Convention of Human Rights, and that will be alone a reason for this entire judgment to be thrown out. It was the judge didn't bother to look at the law, obviously.
Do you know what Bachiashvili wanted to emphasize during his final statement?
Yes, his innocence, the fact that the documentation in no way backed up the case of the prosecution, the fact that there was no interest in bringing this case until 8 years after the facts. I can go on and on in terms of the merits of Bachiashvili's arguments. The fact that those who testified against him had no credibility and all sorts of perverse motives for what they said. The fact that the bank was repaid. The fact that exactly as he said, he took out a loan, he was at risk, he put up his own money. It's absolutely insane that any judge, even a corrupt judge, could make a finding in these circumstances. And it is my prayer for Georgia that rule of law and democracy is restored, so political cases like this don't cross anyone's desks, and that young people, brilliant people like Bachiashvili don't have to flee the country, but they're welcome to the country so that you can build a better and stronger Georgia.
I had an interview with Giorgi Bachiashvili. He believed that some new charges might come against him in future.
Yes.
He named co-investment fund and international standards that didn't allow Ivanishvili to move his assets without certain procedures. Are there some cases, do you think this case could also be used against Bachiashvili at some point, and in what way?
Look, the vengeful determination of Ivanishvili, knows no bounds. And I'm not going to engage in speculation about what other illegal activities Mr. Ivanishvili may engage in. He is clearly not bounded by the law. He's clearly not bounded by morality. He's clearly not bounded by ethics of any sort. It is incapable. We are all incapable of dealing with this type of thing, and he is, completely not only unpredictable, but really reading his statements, they lack an internal logic. Whatever you want to say about Vladimir Vladimirovich, at least when I read his statements, this is also a man who's had me expelled from his country, but at least with Mr. Putin, there's an internal logic to what he says. With Mr. Ivanishvili, there's no logic. And in the Bachiashvili case, there's just hubris and anger and vengeance and not even an attempt to present a legal case.
Do you think you might be...
Listen, I'm not rushing to spend my tourist dollars. I'm not rushing to spend my tourist dollars in Tbilisi right now. Although I love Georgia. I have many friends in Georgia. I'm not rushing to come back.
As we found out, Bachiashvili used to record some of the conversations with Ivanishvili on his phone. Does he have some new recordings that might be interesting? For example, in light of international sanctions, for example, because you mentioned that you would do everything, including working with international actors to further sanction Ivanishvili and judges.
To the extent that the Georgians are coming after him, we will come after Ivanishvili. I think it's a matter where I'm not going to make any comments about what my client has or doesn't have. I think it is a situation where, quite frankly, watch what we do, not watch what we say. I am not a believer in threats. I believe in action, and I think Ivanishvili has shown himself, as I said, to be completely reprehensible. To understand how much Bachiashvili did for Georgia, and even while he was with Ivanishvili, in terms of assisting him when it came to this crime that was committed against Ivanishvili, which is, of course, the big banking case, to then have Ivanishvili exact this attack on Giorgi is just incomprehensible.
Is Bachiashvili currently seeking for a political shelter, or
again? I would not comment. That is not for me to say.
Okay, and my last question. Thank you for your time. Again, what does the silence of the general, like the overall business community, tell you about this case?
That they're scared, and I would not be asking anyone in Georgia for any assistance, because I recognize that the rule of law does not exist, and that people have to look after themselves. And I'm sure Giorgi shares my view that people should just look after themselves. And I pray for the people of Georgia during this dark, terrible time in Georgian history.
Thank you so much, Mr. Amsterdam, for your answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Detained businessman Giorgi Chikvaidze has been transferred to the penitentiary system's medical facility. Days before this decision, public defender's representatives, including a doctor employed by the public defender's office, visited defendant Giorgi Chikvaidze in penitentiary institution number 8. They also spoke with the medical staff of the penitentiary service. The relevant information has been released by the public defender's office. The public is aware that Giorgi Chikvaidze has declared a hunger strike. At the moment, his health is worth paying attention, and he is under the supervision of doctors. In order to protect special category personal information, we are not publishing detailed information about the defendant's health condition. The public defender's office will continue to supervise the protection of Giorgi Chikvaidze's rights, reads the statement. On March 11, the 50,000 lari bail granted to businessman Giorgi Chikvaidze, accused of embezzling a large amount of money, was replaced with pre-trial detention. As for the second defendant, Bachiashvili, the bail granted to him has been upheld. According to the judge, the court could not hear a substantiated argument in relation to Bachiashvili as to why his bail should be replaced with pre-trial detention. As for Chikvaidze, Gallup said that there was reason in the information provided by the investigation that he might evade justice. Giorgi Chikvaidze was detained in the courtroom. He called the judge Murusidze slave and stated that he would do everything to sanction her. The aforementioned decision was made by Tbilisi City Court Judge Izak Elengeridze after the prosecutor's office filed a motion to replace the 50,000 lari bail granted to the defendants with pre-trial detention. According to prosecutor Giorgi Javarashvili, the basis for the request to replace the bail with pre-trial detention was their violation of the bail conditions. More on business this week. Natia Taktakishvili will take the floor.
Ilya Zulaya, the founder of company Arki, declares that the real estate prices will not decrease. As he stated in an interview with the TV program Real Estate Prospect, the sector cannot reduce its profit margin due to the increased prime costs. According to Zulaya, the financial sector has stopped financing new projects in recent months, which will reduce supply to the market in the future. As of him, the fact might become a prerequisite not for a decrease but for price increase. He assumes that the entrance entry of MR Group will have a positive effect on the prices. I can say with a 99% probability that the real estate price will not decrease. Since 2008, the sector has kept an upward trend. Real estate costs have not been decreased even during COVID-19, when there was low number of transactions. Today, no factor can reduce the prices because the land has high price, staff costs increased, and construction itself have become more expensive. As a rule, development works on a very low profit margin, so they cannot reduce price further, said Ilya Zulaya. Arki appeared on the market in 2006 and already unites 42,000 residents in one big family. The company's main activities are construction and development projects. Today, Arki is a leading development company in Georgia, having implemented 50 projects throughout the country. Gold price hit a record high on the international exchange market. An ounce of metal is currently traded at $3,000 USD. The increase made up over 40% in the last year. Global rise in the gold price is also reflected in the Georgian market. The company Zarabkhana says that over the past 3 months, the price of 1 gram gold has increased by 22 lari. As the company's executive director told BMDG, they have not changed the prices over gold product yet, but if the rising trend continues, they will have to adjust prices. As of today, pure gold costs 266 lari. Since December, metal price has increased by approximately 22 lari per gram, and it's expected to rise to 30 lari in the coming days. Despite the increase in gold price, our company has not adjusted its product cost by a single century in the last 8 months. As for the expectations, if the price of gold continues to grow, we will be forced to increase the price because the company needs funds to exist, said Tornika Samkharadze. Along with the gold price of silver is also increasing on the international market. At this stage, silver is traded for 34 USD, which is an annual increase of 35%. Baya Kondratieva, one of the founders of International Association of Aesthetic Medicine, Gaia, stated in an interview with BMG that between December and January, consumption of aesthetic medicines decreased by over 40%. According to her, there is a slight increase in the demand by now. It does not show a significant trend. The first 7 months of 2024 were very active, but demand decreased from late November and continued in the coming months due to the events taking place in the country. Winter months turned out a very bad period for aesthetic medicines. We have a drop of about 40%. Pre-New Year period was unusually quiet. Now there is a slight upward trend, but nothing significant. On the one hand, people are probably not in a good mood, while on the other, the financial condition is the reason for the decrease in demand. We have not adjusted prices since we depend on the cost of products, Baya Kondratieva said. As for future plans, Kondratieva notes that until the business environment in the country stabilizes, they refrain from making large investments. Zurab Ramazashvili, the founder of Tel Aviv Wine Cellar, declares that the number of wine exporting to countries is limited, although the company holds negotiations with new markets. As he explains, exporting and selling large quantities of Georgian wine abroad is a challenge, as they have to compete with local ones. The process of finding new markets is ongoing. However, it's very difficult because the number of consumer markets for Georgian wine is limited. There is a less chance of selling large quantities of Georgian wine in wine-producing countries because in such case, Georgian wine has to compete with local ones, and naturally the local population prefers local wine, Ramazashvili said. As for the results of Tel Aviv Wine Cellar, 2024 was not much difficult from the previous 2 years. The sales dynamics as well as sold quantities were almost equal. As for the current year, Zurab Ramazashvili stated that 2025 has started quite actively, and he hopes that the company will have an increase of up to 15%, which will also affect productivity. Travel will become more expensive, Salome Beraya, the head of Pegasus Touristic TV program Women's Narrative. According to her, travel has dropped by 35% this year compared to the same period last year. She said the trend would not change in a month or two. The concept of early bookings has become so well proven for Georgian customers that last year we sold 65% of summer flights in advance. For us, early bookings start in December because customers can take real benefits during this period. Price change from mid-March and early in April. This year, Georgians missed out on the benefits of early bookings. Travel will definitely become more expensive because it becomes more expensive every year. I hope that demand will gradually grow, although we don't have the same forecast as we had last year. We also don't expect that the picture will change significantly in 1 or 2 months. The main thing is to follow it steadily, Salome Beraya said. If tourist flow don't increase, we will either have to close or switch to a survival mode. Zaza Zedgenidze, founder of Giorgi brewery and hotel located in Aspinza, told BMDG, according to him, the company's main customers were tourists, but given that the number of European tourists in the market decreased last year, demand for their products was down by 20%. As a result, the company has to find alternative ways to survive. In 2024, we did nothing for development and we are in a waiting mode. 2025 is no different in this regard. We are still waiting for the situation to stabilize. If tourist flows don't increase, beer will become cheaper and we will have to enter the industrial beer segment. In my case, craft beer consumption has decreased by about 20%. We mainly depend on international guests who actively consume craft beer. Last year, we can say that it was a very bad season for tourists. The number of craft beer consumption in Georgia is not statistically high and the market is focused on mass production. We think that if tourist flows don't increase, we will have to either close or switch to a survival mode, the businessman said. In September 2021, the peach beer producer Giorgi brewery launched a beer spa and a family hotel in Samtskhe Javakheti. According to the company's founder, the investment amounted to 50,000 lari. Resort Gantiadi, located in Tsemi, is satisfied with the hotel load for this winter season. As its director Diana Chomachashvili said in an interview with BMDG, mostly families with children visit their hotel. Our guests are mainly locals, the share of which is about 95%. Tsemi has always been popular as a climatic resort. It has a healing effect on health, especially for children's immune system. So families with children visit us most often, said the director of Gantiadi. According to her, the most popular seasons are summer and winter, although demand also increases on school holidays in March and during the pine pollination period in May. As the director of Gantiadi notes, the resort may competitive advantage is that it offers many services in one location, including children's entertainment programs. Our children's room represents a mini kindergarten. When we saw that our main vacationers are children, we decided to develop our hotel based on their demand, said Diana Chomachashvili. As for the tariff, she said the highest price is observed between July and August and also in early January. The rest of the period is the standard price, when the price for a double room with 3 meals a day costs 90 USD. The mountain resort Gantiadi was opened on the basis of Old Children's Sanatorium Gantiadi with an investment of 5 million lari. Hotel complex Necrasi Estate, located in Kakheti, is expanding. The company's founder, Otar Tabadadze, spoke about this with BMDG. As Tabadadze stated in an interview, this year the hotel plans to expand and increase the room number up to 30. In addition, infrastructure development is planned in the area, in which the company should invest 2 million lari. We have built a new block, so the hotel room number will increase to 30. At the same time, we want to organize a space for master classes in the outdoor area. In addition, a river flows near the hotel and we plan to develop a wedding and dinner infrastructure there. We can also arrange dinner and wedding parties at the vineyard. We will also have a children's zone and a contact zoo. Work has already started in several places at once. The construction works will be finished late in May, Otar Tabadadze said. Necresi estate includes a hotel and restaurant as well as a winery. According to Tabadadze, the company has reduced the share of wine sales by 80% in the local market.
The world's happiest country has managed to keep its #1 ranking for 8 years running, and it's Finland. Georgia stands at 91 out of 143 countries in the World Happiness Index. The only countries behind Georgia in the region are Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Ukraine. In the parts of Europe and the United States, which manifested its lowest ranking, declining happiness and social trust have contributed significantly to the rise of political polarization and votes against the system, the report finds. But in brighter news, global research shows that people are much kinder than we expect. The report draws on Gallup World Poll data from people in more than 140 countries. Countries are ranked on happiness based on their average life evaluations over the 3 preceding years, in this case 2022 to 2024. The report is a partnership of Gallup, the Oxford Wellbeing Research Center, the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network, and an editorial board. The survey asks each participant to score their life as a whole, and rankings are based on those life evaluations. The report then looks at 6 key variables to help explain life evaluations: GDP per capita, social support, healthy life expectancy, freedom, generosity, and perceptions of corruption. Main economic trends and outlook in our weekly overview.
Georgian Dream Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze stated that restoring the strategic partnership with the United States from a clean slate is the main foreign policy priority of Georgian Dream Party. In response to a question about the meeting between Bachiashvili and Robin Danigan, Kobakhidze noted that it's not customary to disclose the content of closed-door meetings. However, both sides expressed interest in a substantial reset of US-Georgia relations. We have previously made several public statements expressing our desire to fully reset relations, start the strategic partnership from a clean slate, and do so with a concrete roadmap outlining specific tasks. Together we should draft a plan that includes priorities important to both countries. This is how we envisage restoring the strategic partnership between Georgia and the USA. I believe there is a value-based alignment. You remember what we talked about over the past 3 years, and now the new US administration is practically echoing the same messages on almost every issue. This is alignment in views which is publicly evident. The reset will depend on the steps taken by both sides. From our side, there is full readiness, Kobakhidze said. The Georgian government is ready to regulate its relations with the United States. First and foremost, of course, the defeat of the deep state must happen, and we will immediately see this reflect in our country, said Kakhaladze, General Secretary of Georgian Dream and Mayor of Tbilisi, during conversation with journalists. According to him, the Georgian government is ready for friendship and hopes that Donald Trump will fulfill his promises regarding the defeat of the deep state. The Georgian government is ready to regulate relations. We are closely following processes that are happening. The newly elected President of the United States has directly declared war on the deep state, and his main task to defeat the deep state. We spoke about the global war parties long time ago, their interests and the fact that they had to deep roots in Georgia and other countries, and they have interests there. Therefore, the first thing that must happen is the defeat of deep state. We will see this immediately. Of course, will reflect on our country and our relations with the USA, Kaladze said. In January-February 2025, a total of 70,000 international transit trailers crossed Georgian borders, according to the report published by the Ministry of Finance. As of the document, Georgia received 25 million lari in revenues from transit services, as each trailer pays a road transit fee to obtain a permit to cross the country, the cost of which is 350 lari. Compared to the same period of 2024, the number of transit trailers as well as revenues from the transit services has decreased by 10%. In February 2025, Georgia's electricity generation declined by 16% year-on-year to 859 gigawatt-hour, according to the report published by TBC Capital. Thermal generation rose by 20.4% to 412 gigawatt-hour, while hydropower generation declined by 34.4% to 442 gigawatt-hour, and wind power generation decreased by 1% to 5.6 gigawatt-hour. Year-to-date, electricity generation decreased by 90% compared to the same period of the previous year, reaching 1,783 gigawatt-hour. In February 2025, Giorgi consumed 1,204 gigawatt-hour of electricity, marking a 4.9% increase compared to the previous year. Retail consumption grew by 8.6% to 790 gigawatt-hour, while direct consumption declined by 9.6% to 212 gigawatt-hour. Consumption in Abkhazia rose by 8.6% to 273 gigawatt-hour year-on-year. In February 2025, the average weighted price of balancing electricity amounted to 5.96 US cents per kilowatt-hour, reflecting a negligible year-on-year increase of 0.8%. As for month-over-month prices, the price of balancing electricity increased by 3.1% in February. To cover the deficit, Georgia imported 388 gigawatt-hour of electricity in February 2025. In February 2025, Georgia spent a total of 11 million USD on imported electricity. The National Agency for Sustainable Land Management and Land Use Monitoring has launched the Land Information Systems Programming Works as a part of the Georgia's Resilient Agriculture, Irrigation and Land project. The data about the land and soil resources will be compiled into an information hub to improve land management policy. The system will provide services to farmers, business persons and state organizations. A global IT service company, RMSI, will ensure the elaboration of information system and its design. The agency chair, Giorgi hosted the contractor company's head to review the project scale, goals and terms. Representatives of Ministry of Environment Protection and Agriculture and IT experts participated in the meeting. In February 2025, money transfers from the USA increased by 13.9% year-on-year, amounting to 47.3 million USD. According to money transfer statistics published today by the National Bank of Georgia, the maximum share of transfers comes from EU countries, accounting for 44%, corresponding to the 110.7 million USD. Among EU countries, Italy, Germany and Greece have notably high share in total money transfers. The National Bank reported a 44.7% decrease in money transfers from the Russian Federation in February compared to the previous year. In February 2025, the volume of money transfers inflows to the nation was 252.3 million USD, 5.3% less than the previous year. Georgia transferred 28.7 million USD overseas in February 2024.
The Treasury of the Ministry of Finance published the tax performance report for January-February 2025, which shows that the amount mobilized in the central budget amounted to 3.46 billion lari. This sum is 65% of the three-month tax performance plan. Additional tax revenues received in local self-government budgets were 437 million lari, so the budget received a total of 3.9 billion lari in taxes between January and February. This amount is 9.5% higher compared to January-February 2024. Tax performance in the central budget is distributed as follows. In January-February, VAT 1.26 billion lari, including local self-government budget, with VAT revenues 1.58 billion lari, a 5.4% increase compared to January-February 2024. Income tax 1.26 billion lari, 68% of quarterly quarterly plan, including local self-government budget with income tax 1.37 billion lari, 15% increase compared to January-February 2024. Profit tax 398 million lari, 47% of quarterly plan, 12.2% increase compared to January-February 2024. Excise tax 258 million lari, 46% of quarterly plan, 22.5% decrease compared to January-February 2024. The decrease in excise tax revenue in the budget is presumably related to the increase in tobacco excise tax. To offset the increased tobacco, important companies created several months' worth of large stocks before January the 1st. As for the other budget revenues, the budget received 17.4 million lari from the privatization, which was 25% of the quarterly plan. Import tax mobilization amounted to 19.5 million lari, which was 55.8% of the quarterly plan. And that's all for today. We will meet next Sunday, but before that, zoom in and stay tuned on BMG TV and BM.G. Take care.
The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.